So most people don't think twice about where animal products come from. And they don't ever really think about what's all involved in producing animal products. Those animal products do not just magically appear on those store shelves. There's a whole horrific process in producing animal products. And this right here is the number of animals killed every single minute of every single day across the globe. Look at these numbers. Almost 90,000 chickens slaughtered every single minute of every single day across the globe. Do you know how much land is needed to produce the feed for these animals to be able to slaughter them at this rate? These animals, again, their body parts and secretions don't just magically appear on those store shelves. Cattle raised for beef, for instance, most of them are actually on dirt and shit covered feedlots being fed grains. And it takes 12 to 22 months to fatten them up for slaughter. So that means they have to be fed day after day, month after month, for 12 to 22 months. These animals eat a lot of food. They drink a lot of water. They produce a lot of waste. It takes as much as 16 pounds of crops just to produce just 1 pound of beef. Even for poultry, it takes as much as 6 pounds of grains to produce just 1 pound of poultry. So yeah, I always get this from people. Oh, but you vegans don't think about the animals killed in crop production. Oh yeah, I do. That's why I choose products that come from veganic farmers and organic farmers that use non-lethal methods of pest control. But, you know, you have to understand that whatever animals are being killed in crop production, a hell of a lot more animals are being killed in crop production to produce the crops needed to feed the animals whose flesh and secretions you consume. Yeah, so it's not just this amount of animals being intentionally killed each minute of each day for your food preferences. It's also the animals in crop production being killed. And it's also wild animals. Wild animals literally being killed intentionally by the millions each year because they are either a threat to livestock like wolves and cougars and bears and bobcats and coyotes, or they compete with livestock for grazing land like wild American horses and prairie dogs even. And in Australia, they are literally killing off the kangaroos because just like the wild American horses and prairie dogs compete with livestock for grazing land, so farmers want them annihilated. The farmers in Australia want the kangaroo to be annihilated because the kangaroos compete with livestock for grazing land. And you know, after those fires, what has it been now? I want to say 2 years, but the time has been going so fast. I think it's probably been like 3 years since those horrific fires in Australia killed an estimated 1 billion wild animals. Well, you know, after that devastating wildfire killed 1 billion animals, there was a sheep farmer who, in the process of clearing his land to graze sheep, killed about 70 koala bears. And his attitude was like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? They're a fucking pest. Who gives a shit? Yeah, so these wild animals are actually a pest to these farmers, and they want them dead. and they're doing a pretty good job at annihilating them. So yeah, you cannot say you're a nature lover if you're not vegan. You certainly cannot say you're an animal lover if you're not vegan, because you're the animal's worst enemy. And it's not just the cows and pigs and chickens and fish who are intentionally killed for your food preferences. Again, it is also wild animals being killed for your food preferences, like wild American horses, prairie dogs, wolves, cougars, bears, bobcats, coyotes, lynxes, foxes. So it's time to wake up. It's time to go vegan. It is time to stop making excuses. There is no excuse for what you're doing to these animals. Now, I understand if you're an animal abuser, if you're someone who takes pleasure in hurting animals, because yeah, unfortunately, I know there are lots of people in this world who are animal abusers. I sign petitions every single day against people who intentionally hurt cats and dogs. Even a few months ago here in Florida, there was a teenager who took his family dog and hacked that dog to pieces with a sword. And I signed a petition against him to make sure that he gets prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. But what is going to happen to this teenager? What is going to happen to this teenager? Most likely he might, at worst, spend probably like a year in juvenile detention or something like that. But I doubt. I'll have to look into it to see what actually happened to him, if anything. But, I'm sure he's probably just going to get a slap on the wrist. And then what kind of a job is somebody like that with that kind of criminal record going to be able to get? Somebody who literally took a sword and hacked his dog to pieces? What kind of employer is going to want to hire somebody who literally took a sword and hacked their family dog to pieces and bragged about it? What type of employer would want to hire somebody like that? Oh, yeah, a slaughterhouse. Yes, a slaughterhouse would be happy to have somebody like that work for them. Somebody who enjoys killing animals. And then that way he could actually, get paid, and he won't ever have to worry about getting in trouble if he just sticks to, slaughtering the animals inside of the slaughterhouses. It's just weird. It's just mind-blowing that people can't put two and two together. Yeah, I'm sure everybody, when you heard that story about that dog, or, Riona, the dog a few months back that got set on fire intentionally by some maniac. Thank God she's recovering. But I'm sure when you hear stories like that, you're like appalled, and you think people like that should be locked up in prison forever, at the very least. But then you turn around and you literally pay people to do the same kinds of things to cows and pigs and chickens and fish over your appetite, and to wolves and cougars and bears and bobcats and wild American horses and prairie dogs, because again, those animals are being killed, and some of them are being killed in some pretty horrific ways too. Like, have you ever seen those traps that trap some of those animals, like the wolves and coyotes and the raccoons? Yeah, and how they literally, will literally eat their leg off just to get away from the thing, to get back to their babies. I mean, yeah, like I said, don't say you're an animal lover unless you're vegan, because you're not. You're the animal's worst enemy. I mean, that's why I went vegan, because I realized I had to go vegan. I did not go vegan because I didn't like eating filet mignon. I did not go vegan because I didn't like eating bacon or eggs or cheese. I went vegan because I realized that I was literally funding some of the most horrific acts of animal cruelty taking place on this planet. So I realized I needed to align my own belief that it is wrong to abuse animals with my actions. The only way to do that is to go vegan. Yeah, and it's really sad that most people aren't even given the option to be vegan. Like, people are like, oh, you vegans just love to force your beliefs on everybody. Yeah, and what is that belief? The belief is we don't think an animal should be mistreated, that an animal should be exploited, that an animal should be treated in ways that we ourselves wouldn't want to be treated, that an animal shouldn't be treated in a way that I wouldn't want to see a cat or a dog treated in. I mean, So yeah, we're just trying to get you, because most likely you believe what we believe, that it's wrong to abuse animals. So we're just simply trying to get you to align your own actions with your own belief that it is wrong to abuse animals. That discrimination is wrong, that injustice is wrong. And this is an atrocity, the worst atrocity in history by far. Just look at these numbers of victims. This is the number of animals being killed every single minute of every single day across the globe. We kill more animals in those slaughterhouses each year than the total number of humans that have ever existed throughout all of time. Yeah, because it's estimated that there were approximately 100 billion humans total that have ever existed so far. About 100 billion, I think the estimate is. And that's about the number of animals who are slaughtered inside of slaughterhouses. That does not even include the number of marine animals pulled from the oceans and slaughtered. Because then you're talking, we're going into the trillions now. We're going into the trillions when you add marine animals to that total. And yeah, these marine animals are like literally pulled from the oceans and hacked to pieces alive. So yeah, stop making excuses. You'd be so much healthier for going vegan. I mean, you would actually be significantly improving your own health, especially if you now obviously if you're just going to eat French fries and onion rings and vegan pizza and vegan cookies, yeah, you probably aren't going to see too many health benefits being vegan. But if you try to stick to as close to a whole foods, organic, plant-based diet as possible, filled with fruits and vegetables, beans, grains, legumes, nuts, seeds, you are most likely going to see some significant health benefits. Even myself, I went vegan simply for the animals, because that's what veganism is. It's a stand against injustice. It's a stand against animal exploitation, animal abuse. So I did it for that reason. And I actually was so brainwashed into thinking I had to eat animal flesh and animal secretions that when I first went vegan, I actually thought I would not be able to stick with it, because I was thinking my health would probably end up deteriorating, because I was so brainwashed into thinking, well, we have to eat meat to get our protein and all that nonsense. But actually within like 3 months of going vegan, my health significantly improved, because I have endometriosis and I used to be in pain. I had it so bad that I used to be in pain 12 days out of every single month for years. The pain had gotten so bad, pain reliever stopped working. And I didn't want to take, 2, 3 Aleve, because, on the packaging, even one Aleve, if you're taking it on a regular basis, that can cause heart problems. So, I didn't want to, maybe if I took 2 or 3 of them, the pain might have went away, but I wasn't going to take, more than the recommended dosage. So yeah, the Aleve stopped working for me. And the only thing that would give me any kind of relief from the pain was to take a hot shower. But within 3 months of going vegan, the pain completely went away. And at first I didn't even put 2 and 2 together, because I never even knew. I mean, I was so brainwashed into eating animals, I did not even know that there were any health benefits from going vegan. So at first I didn't even realize, because I'm like, wait, the pain didn't come back this month. And then the next month I'm like, the pain is gone. And then I started looking into it. I started finding information about how a plant-based diet is a very healthy diet and does have health benefits, and that animal products are very acidic and very inflammatory. And they're loaded with artery clogging fats and cholesterol, and they cause all kinds of health issues, all kinds of inflammation. So yeah, it's interesting that once I stopped eating those very inflammatory foods, the inflammation, the pain went away. And a plant-based diet can help significantly reduce your risk of cancer and heart disease and kidney disease. And that's not coming from me. That's coming from the American Institute for Cancer Research, the National Kidney Foundation, and the American Heart Association. Yeah, my car tires are Michelin. Michelin tires do not contain any animal byproducts. And yeah, they're a little more pricey, but they actually grip the road better than any other tire I have ever used. So yeah, I think they're actually better off for it. So, you know, the best thing you can do is to go vegan, because it's not just the best thing you can do for the animals, it is the best thing you can do for your own health, and it is the best thing you can do to help save the planet. And that's not coming from me, that's coming from researchers at Oxford University, who did an extensive study of over 40,000 farms. 40,000 farms. And concluded that animal agriculture is so environmentally destructive, going vegan is the best way to save the planet, and that if the world went vegan, land totaling the size of Africa could be freed up. The whole continent of Africa, because that is how much land is needed to graze and grow food for all of these ceaseless tens of billions of animals that are needed to keep up with the demand for animal flesh and animal secretion in order to kill them at this rate per minute. 90,000 chickens killed per minute. Across the globe, every minute of every day. Almost 600 cows, cattle, calves, slaughtered every single, not day, every single minute. Well over 2,000 pigs killed every single minute. Again, right at this moment, we're talking about tens of billions of animals being raised for their flesh and secretions. Like, there are approximately 20 billion chickens right at this very moment being raised for their flesh. Yeah, and that's really not that hard to believe when this is the kill rate per minute. Almost 90,000 chickens killed per minute. To be able to slaughter chickens at this rate per minute, yeah, you have to have a lot of chickens, because yeah, it takes 6 weeks to fatten a chicken up for slaughter. So yeah, about 20 billion chickens right now being raised for their flesh. And I think it's about 1.5 billion cattle being raised, about 3 billion pigs being raised, and then turkeys, rabbits, goats, sheep, dogs, cats. It's just crazy. Now leave the animals alone. Leave the animals alone. You know, one of the reasons why I'm here every day is because there was a time when I used to consume animal products, and it was only because I did not know better. I did not know better. I was not taught better. I used to consume animal products on a regular daily basis. And I would go grocery shopping, and I would just load my cart up with animal body parts and animal secretions, and I never thought twice about it. Now, I remember even one time when I was a teenager being in, what was that store called? What was that store? Not Dillard's or Macy's. It was another Kaufman's or something like that. Being in one of those department stores and seeing this fur coat. And I remember like running my fingers through it and was like, oh, this is so soft. It was sheared beaver fur. And I was like, oh, this is so nice and so soft. And I love animals. I love their fur. And I wish I had the $5,000 to buy this fur coat, because I wasn't thinking about how that fur coat was being produced. I was just thinking of the product, the coat itself, and how like it was so nice and soft. But had I seen how that coat was produced, I probably would have, did what some of these PETA people did, if you know what I'm talking about. That would have enraged me. But back then, when I was a teenager, we didn't have access to the internet. We didn't have access to YouTube. Nobody ever showed me back then how a fur coat was produced. And I never thought, like, wait a second, that fur literally was ripped off the body of an animal. And yeah, once you see footage, I've actually seen footage of foxes being skinned for their fur alive. And after they have their skin ripped off their body, they're still alive and like lifting their head up and moving. That is just so freaking evil. So evil. So evil. I mean, I just don't understand how anybody could, you know, once you learn the truth about how these animal products are being produced, how any sane, decent, rational person could continue to consume any animal product. Because they're all derived from extreme animal brutality. And yeah, these animals being slaughtered in these slaughterhouses, you know, people are like, oh, but they're killed really quick. You know, they get a bolt gun to the head. Well, guess what? For one thing, those bolt guns don't necessarily render those animals unconscious. For another thing, when these bolt guns do render those animals unconscious, some of those animals do regain consciousness. Like I remember someone who worked at a pig slaughterhouse describing how one time he had to take a bolt gun to this pig's head 13 times because the pig just kept going down and getting back up. He would hit the pig in the head again with the bolt gun. The pig would go down and then get right back up. And look at the rate of slaughter per minute. Each of these slaughterhouses are slaughtering thousands of animals each day. So yeah, it's a pretty quick process. Like, you know, they're putting these animals through this kill process really quick. And yeah, it's not uncommon for, just look at the undercover footage. It's not uncommon for these animals to regain consciousness after they have been stunned, after they have had a bolt gun smashed into their skull. Some of these animals never lose consciousness. Some of them regain consciousness. And like I said, when you're talking about this amount of animals being slaughtered every single minute of every single day, there are probably at least a few hundred animals right at this very moment who have regained consciousness in those slaughterhouses and are alive and conscious and screaming right at this very moment inside those scalding tanks that are used to remove the hairs on their skin, like the pigs. And I'm sure that right at this moment, there are hundreds of chickens inside of, you know, chickens being slaughtered at almost 90,000 per minute. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that it's safe to say there's probably a few hundred of those chickens at least right at this very moment, conscious and screaming inside of those scalding tanks that are used to defeather them. And most of these chickens raised for their flesh are raised These sheds are not cleaned, in case you don't know. These sheds are not cleaned during that whole 6-week period they are raised for their flesh. Once these birds are rounded up and shipped to the slaughterhouse, then they clean the sheds out. Yeah, a lot of water. Yeah, again, like I was saying last night on my live stream, animal agriculture is not just the leading cause of deforestation. It's not just the leading cause of species extinction. It's also the leading cause of freshwater depletion because these animals need to drink water. The crops needed to feed these animals need to be watered, and it takes a lot more crops to be produced to feed livestock than need to be produced to feed humans directly. And then these huge industrial sheds that house these animals by the thousands, they have to be cleaned. The barns that those dairy cows stay in, they have to be cleaned. Even on those calf ranches, you know, where they have all the little dairy calves in those little hutches by the hundreds or by the thousands, or that calf ranch in California where they have to have at least 50,000 little calves on that one calf ranch, the grimiest calf ranch in California. There's got to be at least 50,000 of these little hutches with the little calves in them. And they clean them. They clean these little hutches out. On that one farm alone, about 50,000 little hutches they have to clean with water. Yeah, so they're using a lot of water in this industry. And what's happening? The rivers are running dry, the lakes are drying up, groundwater's drying up, and over 50% of the fresh water is directed to the animal agriculture industry. So yeah, there's so many reasons why this industry needs to be banned, like immediately. Not just for the cruelty involved, but especially for the cruelty involved. But not solely for the cruelty, because yes, this industry is extremely environmentally destructive. So that also needs to be taken into consideration. And the products this disgusting industry is selling you is literally just clogging up your arteries, increasing your risk of cancer, increasing your risk of heart disease, increasing your risk of cerebrovascular disease, increasing the risk of another pandemic like bird flu, swine flu in the pork industry. So it just makes sense to go vegan. And again, this is the standard conditions that these chickens are kept in the poultry industry for, you know, like your Chick-fil-A sandwich and your KFC. Nobody deserves to be abused and killed for your food preferences. These chickens are literally bred to grow so abnormally fast and large that, like this bird right here, they become crippled by their own weight. This bird can't even get up to get to the water. Can't even get up to get food. And again, these sheds are not clean during that whole 6-week period that they're being raised for their flesh. So yeah, if you were to go into one of these sheds, you probably wouldn't last but a few seconds because the ammonia would overpower you. It would burn your eyes. It would burn your lungs. These animals, they have eyes, they have lungs. Their eyes, their lungs are burning 24/7 for 6 weeks before they're forced into a slaughterhouse and hacked to pieces. And as you can see, this bird's crippled because they're bred to grow so fast and so large that a lot of these birds end up, you know, becoming crippled under their own weight, and then they can't move. They can't get up off of that excrement-filled floor. So not only is this bird's eyes and lungs burning from the ammonia, this bird's skin is burning from the ammonia. And people are defending this. This is like so bizarre that people would actually comment and be like, oh, that's yummy. Oh, I need my protein. Yeah, it's pathetic you don't realize that all plants have protein. All plants have protein. Now, fruits aren't a very good source of protein. They only contain about 1 gram of protein per serving. But that's why fruitarians, they're supposed to eat nuts and seeds in addition to the fruit. They're supposed to be eating nuts and seeds because nuts and seeds are high in protein. They're, you know, a lot of nuts and seeds contain omega-3 fatty acids, and they're high in calories. But also grains and beans and legumes, tofu, plant-based meats are a very good source of protein. And Kendrick Ferris, he's a vegan, and he is the only man from the United States to have made the Rio Olympics in weightlifting. So Kendrick Ferris is proof that you don't even have to eat animal products to be an Olympic weightlifter. Bacon causes cancer. Just remember that when you or a loved one ends up getting cancer. Yeah, just remember how, you know, delicious bacon is. Yeah, going vegan is absolutely the best thing you can do. Is absolutely by far the best thing you can do overall, by far. It's obviously the best thing you can do for the animals. It's even the best thing you can do for the wild animals, because wild animals are being annihilated over livestock. It's also the best thing you can do for the planet because, again, let me pull this up for you. So of the destruction the animal agriculture industry is causing. This right here is the number of animals killed in just 1 minute alone. Just 1 minute alone across the globe. This is the number of animals being killed in slaughterhouses just for someone's food preference. Not out of any nutritional need, just because people enjoy eating animal flesh and animal secretions. Yeah, because even the dairy cows are slaughtered when they can no longer produce enough milk to be profitable. So this 559 cows and calves that are being slaughtered per minute of every day, this includes like the dairy cows and those male calves born to those dairy cows. You know, when those dairy cows can no longer produce enough milk to be profitable, which happens typically about 5 years of age, when they can actually live over 20 years, they are sent to slaughter. All of the male calves born to those dairy cows are sent to slaughter. Yeah, so in order to kill this amount of animals per minute, yeah, there's like literally tens of billions of animals right at this very moment being raised for their flesh and secretions so that they can be killed at this rate to keep up with the demand for animal flesh and animal secretions. So it takes an enormous amount of land to graze and grow food for all of these ceaseless tens of billions of animals to be able to kill them at this rate per minute. These animals use up a lot of water. You know, they drink a lot of water. The crops grown to feed these animals use a lot of water. A lot more water is needed to produce the crops to feed these animals that then need to be used to produce the crops to feed humans directly. And the sheds and the barns and the calf hutches, they all need to be cleaned on a regular basis, and they're being cleaned with water. So yeah, over 50% of the fresh water usage is directed to the animal agriculture industry. So yeah, animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation, as an acre of land is cleared per second. And it's mainly to graze and grow food for all of these animals to be able to kill them at this rate per minute. And then animal agriculture is also the leading cause of species extinction, because as an acre of land is cleared per second, literally slashed and burned per second, mainly to graze and grow food for livestock, countless species of animals are being killed in the process. Countless species of plants are being killed in the process. Then they're killing off the wild animals, because the wild animals either compete with livestock for grazing land, like the wild American horses and the prairie dogs, and in Australia, the kangaroos. So they're killing them by the millions each year. But then you have the wolves, the cougars, bears, bobcats, coyotes, lynxes, foxes. Those animals are a threat to livestock, so they are being annihilated. And again, this industry is the leading cause of freshwater depletion. Also the leading cause of water pollution. Here in the United States, every single minute, approximately, livestock produce approximately 7 million pounds of manure per minute, which is like 130 times more excrement than the entire human population of the entire U.S. population of humans produce each minute. And most of that excrement ends up in the rivers, which lead to the oceans, which leads to ocean dead zones. So yeah, animal agriculture is also the leading cause of ocean dead zones. It's also the leading cause of fisheries depletion. Also the leading cause of ocean plastics. Because yeah, the commercial fishing industry. A lot of ghost fishing gear left behind from the commercial fishing industry. Ghost fishing gear accounts for about 50% of the ocean plastics. Yeah, I'm going to keep on saying the same things over and over. Kind of like a commercial. Kind of like a commercial. Like the animal killing industry. Like, I don't know if you pay attention, like if you watch TV and you pay attention to commercials. But yeah, I mean, like every commercial break is just filled with ads from the animal killing industry to get you to like keep thinking about how you need a bacon cheeseburger, how you need some ice cream, how you need some, cheese and all that other garbage. Like you need some Applebee's and some Arby's, some McDonald's. And they spend tens of millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, in advertising every year. But see, it's free for me. It doesn't cost me anything to come onto this app and advertise for the animals, get people to think about how animal products are being produced so that they can reconsider and go vegan. So yeah, I'm going to continue to just use this feature day after day after day, kind of like an advertisement to get people to think about how animal products are being produced and realize that this industry is based on nothing but extreme animal abuse. So yeah, if you're against animal abuse, you need to go vegan immediately. So yeah, new people come onto this app on a daily basis. So I'm sure every time I go live, there's at least a few people who have not come across my content before. And then some people, what happens with some people is they go into it. Well, I think most people, they go into a state of denial when they hear the truth because they don't want to accept the truth, because they know to accept that I'm literally telling the truth, that means they have to go vegan, because it makes no sense to not be vegan once you know the truth. But they don't want to accept the truth. So they go into a state of denial and, oh, she's a liar. She's spreading misinformation. Oh, they don't do that. Well, that's not all farms. That's just, the bad farms. No, it's all farms that are literally, for one thing, sexually abusing animals to get them to reproduce. That is standard practice throughout the animal agriculture industry. Standard practice throughout the animal agriculture. Small farms, factory farms, standard practice. They call it artificial insemination. And it is the most cost-effective and efficient way of getting those animals to reproduce. And some of those animals, like the turkeys and the chickens, physically cannot mate because they're forced to grow so fast and large that they physically cannot mate. So this is how the industry makes them reproduce. They call it artificial insemination. But if you look at the instructional videos put out by the industry itself, by the pork industry, by the poultry industry, by the egg industry, by the dairy industry, by even the honey industry, yeah, because they're doing this with bees. Look it up if you think I'm lying. Even the salmon industry. If you see how they collect the semen, because they have to have semen to be able to artificially inseminate those females to get them to reproduce. So how they get that semen is they have select male animals that they collect the semen from. And how they do that is they literally masturbate the male animals and they force them to have an orgasm so that they will ejaculate, so that they can collect the semen, so that they can force that semen into the vaginas of unconsenting female animals to get them to reproduce so that you can eat their babies. And in the case of dairy, so you can consume their babies' stolen baby food. So yeah, if you're Christian, you should look up what your Bible says about bestiality. It is a major sin. And it's also sexual assault. Those animals do not give consent to having their genitals fondled. So yeah, that's pretty disturbing. Even if those animals did give consent, it is still bestiality. So it's just creepy that anybody would promote bestiality. See, that's what you're doing when you're, you know, telling people eat meat. You're literally promoting bestiality. You're literally promoting animal cruelty. I mean, how's it not cruel to chop an animal's head off? Nobody deserves to be beheaded over your food preferences. No, you can't. I mean, because just think about it. Think about it. There are 8 billion humans on the planet. 8 billion humans on this planet. And most of these people are not vegan. So they're consuming animal products, most of them all day, every day. And yeah, a large majority of these people are consuming chicken. Look at all the kids eating chicken nuggets. Like some kids live on chicken nuggets. Yeah. So 90,000 chickens per minute. There are 8 billion humans that eat animal flesh and animal secretions morning, noon, and night. Day after day after day after day after day. So yeah, it's not too hard to figure out. These numbers are pretty accurate. Yep. A normal person would not be consuming cow's milk. You're uneducated. If you are consuming, if you're consuming cow's milk, it's either because you are uneducated about the matter, or you're just cruel. Or you're just a big baby. Because cow's milk is actually baby food for baby cows. Cows do not produce milk for humans. Cows do not automatically produce milk. A dairy cow does not produce milk because she's a dairy cow. A dairy cow produces in the dairy industry, you know, they have select bulls that they collect semen from. So they masturbate those bulls until they ejaculate, or they shove an electro-ejaculator in their anus until they ejaculate to steal their semen, to force that semen into those dairy cows' vaginas without their consent, to get them pregnant so that they will start to lactate. Then when those dairy cows give birth, their babies are stolen. If those babies are boys, they're slaughtered. Typically for veal, like this little calf. This image behind me is actually a screenshot of an undercover investigation at a slaughterhouse where they are slaughtering the male calves taken off the dairy cows. And if you Google Kinder World Calf Slaughter, this should be the first video that comes up. I dare you to watch it. It's only 2 minutes long. I dare you to watch just 5 seconds of this video. It's so evil what they're doing to these little babies. I mean, look at this little baby's face. He's traumatized. This is a baby, a newborn baby. He should be with his mother, not in a slaughterhouse about to be hacked to pieces, so that you can consume his stolen baby food. Cow's milk is baby food for baby cows, not for you. You're not a baby. Your mother is not a cow. It's time to wake up to reality and do the right thing and go vegan. What's a lie? What exactly am I lying about? That dairy cows don't have to be pregnant? Really? Really? That the male calves aren't killed? Really? I mean, you actually think these dairy farms are doubling in size every year? Yeah, that would be impossible. What am I lying about? No, the dairy farmers are the ones lying. Literally having most people so fooled that they actually think that a dairy cow produces milk because she's a dairy cow. Yeah, I love how these people accuse me of lying, but then they won't say what I'm lying about. And then they'll say everything. Well, that's disturbing. That's disturbing because I know what you do as a dairy farmer, and that's very, very disturbing. That's very extremely disturbing. I mean, if you did the exact same things to a human that you are doing to these animals, they would in fact be crimes of rape, kidnapping, theft, and murder. And that is a fact. That is an absolute fact. And still, you don't state the sources. That is why you're lying. Well, let me show you a source. Let me show you a source. Yep, Iowa dairy farmer. Literally a month ago made this TikTok mocking the fact that he sends his dairy cows to slaughter when they can no longer produce enough milk to be profitable. He's literally pointing at each of his dairy cows, singing a song that goes, Whopper, 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 Junior, Double, Triple, Whopper. And he's literally pointing at each of these cows saying, Whopper, 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 making fun of the fact that he's going to be sending these dairy cows to a slaughterhouse and turning them into a Whopper. Because that's what they do to dairy cows when those dairy cows can no longer produce enough milk to be profitable. Because those dairy cows are forced to produce as much as 10 times more milk than is natural. So that puts an enormous amount of stress on their bodies. And by the time they're about, like 5 years old, their bodies can no longer keep up with that kind of milk production. So then they are no longer profitable to the dairy farmer. So then the dairy farmer sends them to slaughter. And then they joke about it. Do a TikTok calling their dairy cows Whoppers, because that's how they repay these cows. After these cows have made them money for years, how these dairy farmers repay these cows is not to send them to a sanctuary, which is the very, 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 very least they can do for these dairy cows after they've done what they've done to them. But no. This is how these dairy farmers repay these dairy cows after they have made them tons of money over the years, is they send them to a slaughterhouse and then they laugh about it. They laugh about it and talk about how delicious their flesh is. That's Dahmer vibes, if you ask me. Dahmer vibes I get from these people. How is it a sin to eat meat? Well, it's a sin in many, many ways. Thou shalt not kill. There is no exceptions listed next to that commandment. But yeah, again, as I was saying earlier, which maybe you just tuned in now, the first step in producing all animal products, even dairy products, even eggs, even honey, even salmon, they literally masturbate male animals to get them to ejaculate. That is bestiality. That is a major sin. Bestiality. Sexual relations between a human and an animal. A farmer or a farm hand literally masturbates a male animal to collect his semen. Does not matter whether that farmer is getting sexual gratification themselves or not. That does not matter. The fact that they're giving sexual gratification to an animal and making them ejaculate absolutely makes it a sexual relationship between a human and an animal. That is bestiality. How you can think that it's okay to grab an animal's penis, that is totally bizarre to me, that you're going to defend that kind of behavior. You cannot defend that. No rational, decent, that's insanity. So for you to go on consuming animal products from this point forward, you are now, because let me show you a screenshot of what this is an instructional video put out by the pork industry demonstrating how they collect the semen from the male pig. This is a human, that's an animal. She's literally masturbating him until he ejaculates. Yeah, that's a sin. That's bestiality. And it's sexual assault. So from this point forward, if you continue to consume animal products, you are now a knowing and willing participant in bestiality and of the sexual assault of animals. That's crazy. That you have to go vegan now. You see? You have to. You have to. Because if you continue to consume animal products from this point forward, you are now a knowing and willing participant in bestiality and the sexual assault of animals. They literally masturbate these male animals, and it's happening to the bulls in the dairy industry. It's happening to the bulls in the beef industry. It's happening to the turkeys in the poultry industry. It's happening to the roosters in the poultry industry and in the egg industry. Yeah, they masturbate the roosters until they ejaculate to collect their semen, to force it into the hens, to fertilize their eggs so that those eggs either hatch into the broiler chickens that they kill for your Chick-fil-A sandwich, or so that those eggs hatch into the egg-laying hens that lay the eggs on store shelves. And they're even doing this to bees. There's tons of instructional videos about what they're doing to the bees. And there's a lot of videos about this too. And after they collect the semen from the male pig, they force it into the female pig. And I just recently came across an instructional video from a farmer in Great Britain who was demonstrating how, after they collect the semen, how they force the semen into the sow, into the female pig, to get her pregnant. And this farmer is literally with his fist rubbing the vagina of that female pig to sexually stimulate her, because he says that that helps, you know, get the semen to where it needs to go. So with his fist, he's literally rubbing her vagina, sexually stimulating her. And this is an instructional video. This is not like some crackhead, crazy person into bestiality doing this to an animal. This is like a farmer saying, you know, like, hey, this is what we do. You know, this is how we arouse them and shove semen into them to get the process to, you know, flow better. And I'm like, oh my God. My only regret about going vegan is that I wasn't vegan my entire life. Like, seriously. I don't see how anybody can see someone doing that to an animal and then be like, oh, fuck it, I'm still eating bacon. Like, no way in hell. Even if you just put the fact that they're literally chopping the heads of these animals off so you can feast on their flesh, I mean, that's sick enough, evil enough. But then when you see them actually sexually assaulting animals too, to get them to reproduce, it's like, fuck no. I would never, ever, 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 ever consume another animal product the rest of my life. It's so vile on so many levels. And this is standard practice I'm talking about here. That's why I have no fear, because I should be able to use this app to raise awareness. It says so right in the guidelines that you can show certain footage if you're doing it to raise awareness. And since this is an industry that almost everybody is supporting, because like 99% of people are not vegan. So yeah, most of you people watching this live stream are actually supporting the animal agriculture industry. And even if you're not eating pork, again, this is also happening in the beef industry, in the dairy industry, in the poultry industry, in the salmon industry with fish. But in the case of the female salmon, they don't, force the semen out of the male salmon and force it into the female salmon. No, they force the semen out of the male salmon. They kill the female salmon. And then they cut her open and take her eggs back to the hatchery and fertilize them. Now, I'm literally just gaslighting. I'm literally just stating facts. Literally just stating facts here, people. I'm not even stating an opinion. I'm just stating facts. Yeah, it's not an opinion that it's wrong. Unless you think, oh, it's an opinion that, R-A-P, I-N-G, a human is an okay thing to do. No, it's wrong. And it's also wrong to be doing that to an animal. And this is standard practice. Again, standard practice throughout the entire animal agriculture industry. So maybe you did not know this yesterday, but you now know it right now. So going forward, if you do not go vegan, you are now a knowing and willing participant in bestiality. So you have to go vegan right now. You have to. You have to. You have to. You have to. Or again, like I said, you're a willing and knowing participant in bestiality and the sexual assault of animals. Yes, I'm absolutely stating facts. These animals are treated great. Yeah, maybe like 1 or 2% of the animals being raised are treated with any kind of decency up until the point they're totally betrayed and sent to a fucking slaughterhouse to be disassembled. Yeah, treating someone nice when the whole time your whole intention with that animal is to literally send them to a slaughterhouse and kill them so you can eat them. That is not humane treatment. That is psychotic. And these animals are all killed very, very young, regardless of how they are raised. Whether they're raised on a factory farm or raised on a family farm, they're all killed pretty much as babies. Pigs killed at 6 months old when they can live over 10 years. Whether they're on a factory farm or they're on a homestead. Doesn't matter. They're all going to be killed at around 6 months of age. Chickens are all going to be killed around 6 weeks of age. They can live over 7 years, but they're killed at around 6 weeks. They're babies. Yeah, I absolutely do know what's happening. That is why I am vegan. And that's why I'm literally on this app every day encouraging other people to go vegan, because any decent, rational person would not continue to fund this industry once they know the truth of how these animals are being abused in so many ways, how the planet is being destroyed in the process of producing animal products, because animal agriculture is in fact causing the 6th mass extinction. And it is the leading cause of deforestation, species extinction, water pollution, water depletion, ocean dead zones, ocean plastics, fisheries depletion, pandemics, world hunger, and climate change. 1 billion people right now starving because food they could eat is being used to fatten livestock. Ceaseless tens of billions of animals being raised for their flesh and secretions, being fed food that could be fed to the billion starving people, but because privileged people refuse to give up animal flesh and animal secretions and eat healthier plant-based foods, you know, just the world is going to hell in a handbasket. And you can see the weather extremes from climate change. Animal agriculture is the leading cause of climate change. Again, these animals produce a lot of waste, a lot of methane. And when they're hacking those trees down an acre a second, yeah, that's releasing CO2 into the atmosphere. And then there's no more trees to absorb CO2. Aren't plants alive? Yeah. But more plants are being killed to fatten up the animals whose flesh and secretions you consume. A lot more plants are being killed. Takes as much as 16 pounds of grains to produce just 1 pound of beef. Takes as much as 8 pounds of grains to produce just 1 pound of pork. Takes as much as 6 pounds of grains to produce just 1 pound of poultry. So a lot more crops, a lot more plants have to be produced and killed to feed the animals whose flesh and secretions you consume. And again, animal agriculture is the leading cause of deforestation. 1 acre of land is slashed and burned every second of every day, and it is mainly to graze and grow food for livestock. Most of those fires in the Amazon are intentionally set by cattle ranchers because it's a quick and easy way to clear the land to graze cattle and to grow soybean to feed livestock. Like 80% of the soybean crop produced is produced to feed livestock, not vegans. Only like 6% of the soybean crop produced is used to make products like tofu. 6%. Over 80% is used as livestock feed. And yeah, if you're truly concerned about plants, not only should you go vegan, you should become a fruitarian because no plants have to be harmed for fruits, nuts, or seeds. Go tell a lion to go vegan. Well, you're nothing like a lion at all. And no, yeah, I don't think that, you know, killing a potato is the same thing as killing a pig. I mean, get real. Like, you actually think chopping up a potato is the same thing as chopping up a pig. Because if you do, then you must also think that chopping up a potato is the same thing as chopping up a puppy. Because a puppy and a pig are both animals, and a pig actually is more intelligent than a dog. And humans are animals, in case you don't know. So if you think that chopping up a potato is the same thing as chopping up a pig, then you think it's the same thing as chopping up a puppy, and the same thing as chopping up a person. That's crazy. That's crazy. Plants don't have brains. Plants don't have emotions. Plants don't have personalities. Why you would come to the defense of plants when an animal rights activist is explaining all of the horrific things being done to animals? That just proves you're a clown, and not even a good clown. I mean, you're like, I could just say what I want to say. Yeah, it's just strange when vegans are literally drawing attention to all of the atrocious things being done to animals. You want to like, no, wait a second, but look at all the atrocious things being done to plants. When, in fact, more plants are being brutalized to feed the animals whose flesh and secretions you consume. Every single second, an acre of land is being slashed and burned. That's plants. Plants that you claim to care about. An acre of plants are being slashed and burned, brutalized per second. And it's mainly to graze and grow food for livestock. So you don't care about plants. You don't. Because if you did, you would understand you have to be vegan. You have to be vegan. That argument is an argument for veganism. It is an absolute argument for veganism. plants feel. Plants are alive too. That is an argument for veganism. Because again, maybe I'll say it a little calmer, a little louder, and a little slower. More plants have to be killed to feed the animals whose flesh and secretions you consume on a daily basis. Because these animals have to eat. Yeah, and they're mainly eating grains, corn, soybean. For 6 months in the case of pigs, day after day after day, they have to be fed. These animals can eat a lot of food. A lot more crops have to be produced to feed them than need to be produced to feed you directly. And then again, as I keep saying, an acre of land is cleared every second of every day. It's slashed and burned per second, an acre of land. And this is mainly being done to graze and grow food to feed all of the ceaseless tens of billions of animals that are needed to keep up with the demand for animal flesh and animal secretions. And again, step one in the process of producing all of those animal products that are on store shelves. A farmer or a farm hand literally gives a hand job to an animal and makes them ejaculate. That is bestiality. That is sexual abuse. This should be a crime. And if you're Christian, this is a sin. And you need to go vegan right now. Because if you're not vegan from this point forward, you are a knowing and willing participant in bestiality and the sexual abuse of animals. So yeah, I'm not the crazy one here. I'm the one saying, hey, let's not chop the heads off of animals. Let's not touch the pee-pees of animals. Let's not rub the vaginas of female animals. Yeah, because, yeah, you should. I wish I could show you these things so you can see what I'm talking about. But yeah, you can see what because I have it posted. I think it's the second to last short video I posted on my YouTube account. Lead Errance, like leader. Leaderence. So you can go to my YouTube account. Look at my short videos. It's the second to last one I posted. Pig farmer with his fist rubbing a sow's vagina to sexually arouse her. So he can, take the semen that he forced out of a male pig and force it into her vagina. And his reasoning for doing this is that helps the process. That helps the semen get to where it needs to go when he rubs her vagina, sexually stimulating her. It helps the semen go where it needs to go. So she can make the baby piglets that he's going to mutilate, forced to live in an overcrowded shit-filled dungeon for 6 months in such filth. They have to be given antibiotics to keep them alive long enough to make it to the slaughterhouse. It's just mind-blowing that the world's not vegan by now. Because you should know this. You should already know this by now. Because you all carry a device in your hand where you can literally pull this information up yourself. Why do I need to go vegan? Why are vegans trying to make everybody go vegan? Because so many horrible things are happening to animals. So horrible that the same exact things were being done to humans, that are being done to these animals were being done to humans, they would be crimes of rape, kidnapping, theft, and murder. Yeah, it is horrible. No, you're the one who's loony. I'm literally proving to you. I am literally proving to you that animal agriculture is based on bestiality and the sexual assault of animals. And instead of you just being quiet and going away if you have no interest in going vegan. You're literally announcing to the world, like, because you're literally calling me loony as I'm showing you a screenshot of an instructional video put out by the pork industry to educate consumers so that they will stop supporting this. I'm not saying, oh, come on, go get some bacon right now. Keep on supporting this, people. Keep on buying that bacon and supporting this behavior. That's you. I'm literally saying stop this shit right now. And I'm telling you this because I know a lot of people don't realize this is what's happening to animals to produce those animal products that are on store shelves. Most people don't even think twice about how those animal products are turning up on those store shelves. So what I'm doing is I'm getting people to think, making people realize, raising awareness, because consumers need to know the truth so that they can make informed choices going forward. I don't think any decent, rational person would choose to continue to support an industry that is based on bestiality. That's insanity. And you're telling me I'm insane. I'm insane for what? I would have to be insane to know what's happening to these animals and stay silent. To stay silent about this atrocity. That would make me crazy. That would make me an awful person. To know what they're doing to these animals and keep quiet about it? Hell no. Hell fucking no. I'm not being quiet. Ever. Not until I'm dead. I am never going to shut up about this because this is standard practice in the animal agriculture industry. Standard practice. This is the most cost-effective and efficient way of getting these animals to reproduce. Not just the pigs, but also the turkeys and the chickens and the cows and even the bees. Oh, there's plenty of instructional videos about the artificial insemination process of bees. And yeah, what they're doing to the bees, they literally squeeze on their abdomens until they ejaculate and then they die. Then they force the semen of about 20 male bees into one queen to force her to reproduce. Okay, well, I'm going to sign off for the night. Give me a follow. Look at my TikTok videos, share them, duet them. If you think I'm lying about anything, duet my video and tell me what I'm lying about. Tell me what I'm saying that's misinformation. Tell me what I should be saying to correct the misinformation. No, because I'm not. And you're not going to do it because you know I'm not lying. You know I'm not spreading misinformation. I have no reason to lie. I have no reason to spread misinformation. I'm not here trying to sell you anything. I'm just trying to I'm just here trying to get you to stop paying people to do awful things to animals. Things that would actually be crimes of rape, kidnapping, theft, and murder if done to humans. Now, I'm literally stating facts. I'm stating facts. This is not a belief. This is a fact. Farmers are sexually assaulting animals to get them to reproduce. And this is bestiality. It's a sin if you're Christian, in case you don't know. A human masturbating an animal until they ejaculate? That's sexual relations between a human and an animal, and that is bestiality, and that is a major sin.